Welcome to Get to Know Glasgow, the podcast that tells you what you need to know about student life at the University of Glasgow from those who know it best. In this series, 4 undergraduate and postgraduate students will share their Glasgow journeys.
I'm Ash.
Hey, I'm Danielle.
I'm Jaquine.
And I'm Victor.
In each episode, we'll be sharing our experience
and giving you our top tips
on everything from student accommodation to funding options,
so you'll know what it's really like to be part of Team U of G.
Let's get started.
So, have you guys had any experience with funding, to get into university or during your studies or anything like that?
I feel like at this point I've become a scholarship hunter or something like that. Like every year in my life for the past 4 years has been, a different, a new experience in applying for a new scholarship. So yeah, that's just been my life, and I feel like that since I'm, trying to shift into, being a PhD student and then eventually, being a full-time researcher, that will actually just be my life, for the rest of it, just,
yeah.
Keeping, on applying for funding, that's just, the life of a, full-time academic, which I will hopefully become one day. But yeah, so when I first came to Glasgow, so I came from Brazil, and obviously I think the biggest barrier for anyone coming from outside of the UK to study at the University of Glasgow, or really any university in the UK, is the financial barrier. So that was the biggest thing for me. So I remember that I drew out a huge plan, along with my partner and my family, and it was all really dependent on whether I would get, a scholarship to come and study at the university. So for my first year here as a PGT or postgraduate top student, I went for the International Leadership Scholarship, which was essentially just a fee waiver, but, it was a pretty big one, which really allowed me to, make solid plans to, move to Glasgow, and come and study here. So I got that. So, and that was, really an amazing moment for me, because I kind of remember that, getting the scholarship was an even more special moment for me than actually, getting an offer of a place for the university, because the offer was, it was really nice, but I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to take that unless I have the funding, and I believe that that's the situation for, lots of students out there, especially international students. And so I got that, and I came to do my PGT degree. And so by the end of that, I started to feel like, I'm a big nerd guy. So, I started to feel like, I just want to, dwell on the, university realm for,
might as well
for more time. And so I remember that the university just, announced this opportunity of a very specific scholarship for a 1-year master's. Which was kind of, it was a fully funded scholarship that would give you a stipend, which was perfect for me.
Oh,
but
nice.
That was kind of tied, for you to research on a specific topic. And it was, I started to feel like, I feel like I can kind of create a research project that fits, these requirements. And so I just, I went all in on it. And I got that scholarship, which was, hey. And right now, I'm on my second attempt at getting a PhD scholarship. So I tried last year. I got to the last stage, and I ended up not getting it. So right now, I'm on the last stage again, and, just waiting for an outcome. And
fingers crossed for you.
And just, before I let you guys speak, because sorry, I just
no,
I
this is
just
all
feel
good.
like I have a lot to say about this.
This was your time to shine, Victor. This was really, you were waiting for this.
Yeah, this is really, the biggest topic in my life for the past 5 years or so. So yeah. But yeah, one thing that I wanted to say is, especially if you're going for a research degree, and especially if you're an international student, try to treat that as a job instead of as a course that you're doing. And what I mean by that is, if you can help it, do not do it unless you're being paid for it. Because it is a full-time job that you're gonna have, for the next 3 or 4 years or so in your life. Really, the issue with pursuing a PhD is, of course, you need to show that you have quality as a researcher and everything. But I wouldn't recommend people to go for stuff like that unless they have the funding. So yeah, that's just one thing that it's become a really strong topic in my life for the past 5 years or so.
I think I've been fortunate enough as well because I've been getting the undergraduate excellence scholarship every year from year one, and this is the only scholarship that a student coming from India to University of Glasgow can get, and I've got it. But I think it's also important to mention the scholarship hub where you can go, and while you're applying for a scholarship, you can go through different options. I think they have like 1 million scholarships for different kinds of people coming from different backgrounds for different unis, and in fact there's like an option to filter out your specific degree, the place where you come from, and I think there are like a few other filters like that which you can use too. And I think that website was really helpful when I was applying because that's how I found out about the undergraduate excellence scholarship. And also I want to talk about how if you can get the undergraduate scholarship is not really decided by you, it's decided by the university based on your high school grades. And for my case, they just emailed me and they were like, hey, you clearly qualify for this scholarship. Do you want it? And I was like, well, you're offering well. I was like, oh, yeah, sure, I'll take it. But like, I think this was one of those scholarships that the uni offers you and you don't need to really even apply for it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's obviously based on your high school grades and your academic performance. So it's purely based on that and not really other skills and things like that you can talk in your application for other scholarships. But I think that website is really helpful, especially when you're applying for a scholarship. But I was also going to say, apart from a scholarship, there are, for a person working in life sciences, there are different kinds of grants and schemes. I personally haven't got a chance to use any yet, but I know of quite a few different kinds of grants where you don't even need to like kind of pay back to them in any way. It's just like an amount of money that's assigned to different schools every year. And if you think you can qualify for that grant, they would just transfer it to you. It's really very simplified if you get me. But obviously it's going to be really competitive. And there's like a long application process for it, which you need to go through. But at the end of the day, it's going to be worth it. So apart from scholarships, there are different things that you can do, like a part-time job or like a casual job, like us being content creators. And it's small bits and pieces like these that really like help you collectively to like help fund your studies. But like take an international student, it's not hard.
What's that like for both of you? I want to ask because obviously I've never went through scholarship or anything like that. It's slightly different for me with SAS. But what is the process like? Did you find it daunting? Is it a lot of paperwork that needs to be done? Like, how do you go about like the actual doing the application? Does it feel overwhelming?
It really varies. I feel like the undergraduate excellence scholarship is kind of similar to the international leadership scholarship, which I got, which applies to PGT students, and that is just based on your application for the university. They will just assess your documents that you sent to get an offer of a place, and then if you're good enough, then you'll be offered a scholarship. So there's it's kind of a double-edged sword because you really don't get a feel of how the scholarship selection is going, and you feel like you cannot do anything to help yourself unless other than just send your documents, and on the other hand, like the second scholarship that I got, the which was a research scholarship, was way more similar to applying for a research for actually a PhD scholarship. And that is, a very different thing in itself, because then obviously like your grades and your, whatnot, they count. but what really matters the most is your research proposal. So
Yeah, of course.
so, in order to get a research scholarship, then you really have to work on your application specifically, for months and months. And, it's a really
Yeah.
time process. And then at the end of that, then you also need, to set aside all your documents. And so that's just my experience, talking about a student in arts and humanities. And I would say that, the process of applying for a scholarship, say in life sciences, let's say a research scholarship in life science or I don't know, physics would be very different from the process that I faced. So it's definitely very specific.
It's also worth mentioning how important it is to apply in advance as early as possible. I
Yes.
think it's at some point it's your own research, it's your own call. Apart from like the scholarships that you're offered by the university, I think it's really important to do your own research way well in advance. Like even as you were mentioning, almost an year in advance for the next year. But yeah, the sooner you can start researching, the better. But
Yes,
at the end of
absolutely.
the day, it's never too late.
Yeah, for sure. For me, as like a home student, we in Scotland have a sort of, it's called the Student Awards Agency Scotland, so it's shorthanded to like SAS, and essentially you can use that for just any kind of higher education. It includes like college, so if you're doing an HND or an HNC, but it also includes university. So for me, it's covered my tuition fees. So you apply on SAS and basically you say what it is you need. So if you apply for university, you would get through your offer, and then you actually automatically get emails through from SAS just saying, funding for us, we can cover the tuition fees. So every Scottish kind of home student will get that through. And it's a case of going, yep, tuition fees, you just fill out a quick form, and then you can also ask for extra stuff on top of that. So you've got, I think there's disability allowance, and then you've just got a general allowance, which is essentially like a stipend, So every month SAS will pay out to help with like living costs, and it assesses it. Either you can do like a financial assessment, so they will award you dependent on how much your parents make or how much you make if you're obviously an independent student living on your own. And it will take into consideration your partner's income as well. And you could also just go down the route where you don't get it income assessed, and they'll just give you the sort of lowest flat rate for the living wage. So without SAS, I can guarantee that I just never would have went to university. So I'm 30 now, went to university at 27, and I'd went through a couple of college courses as well before. And that wasn't so much SAS, because SAS do higher education, but there is other Scottish funding that can help you with like college. But without this, like I just wouldn't have been able to see myself here.
Aw.
I did do an access course, which wasn't covered because it's not technically one of the, it doesn't meet the criteria for higher education. It's just a sort of stepping stone into university. So I did have to pay for that, and I think it was about £300 at the time for the access course, which then got me the requirements to basically get into university. Because as I say, I left school at a young age, and then basically just went into full-time work. And then it wasn't until I was 27 that I decided I want to go into university, but I don't really know if I can splash the cash. But thankfully, SAS exists, and it has literally got me through. The only thing I will say with SAS is during the summer it doesn't come through, so it's only during term time. So they'll cover your tuition fees, and then they give you a sort of living payment every month throughout the semesters. But then come summer, you're on your own. So that's why I'm always on the internship hub and whatnot, and getting myself something to kind of get me through summer. And it's something that you apply for every year as well. So at the start of every year, you have to make a reapplication to SAS so that they can reassess your kind of conditions and stuff, like your living conditions, and be like, right, okay, this is what we're going to give you this year. But it's been a massive help, and as I say, it's for people living in Scotland, and they've got their own separate website as well. So just type in SAS, SAAS, or Student Awards Agency Scotland. Yes, that's it. So yeah, definitely go check that out.
I was gonna say, talking about funding, it's also interesting to talk about the cost of living and the budget
Mm.
and on a budget
Yes.
as you did. How do
hmm
you guys manage your budget anyways?
Well, I feel like I have a very specific system because I moved to Scotland with my partner, and in a sense that helped a lot, because not only because it's two incomes. So like right now, I'm kind of in a I'm struggling to find a job, but she has a very very stable full time job, so that helps.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
that gives you room to breathe. So not only that, but I feel like having someone who you share the bills with, it just helps you create a system that it helps us organize. So
Yep.
every month, on the first day of every month, we just sit down, we just calculate, the costs, and we make an even split of, and but yeah, I feel like the cost of living has been rising. I mean, I've been here for only 2 years and a half now, and I can definitely say that things have gotten more expensive, over the
Yeah.
time I was here. Um, and I feel like, the tip number one for you to deal with this is essentially just get organized. Just you have to create some sort of system, so you don't lose track of your finances, so that you
Hmm.
know exactly how much you can spend every month. I think that that's the most important thing.
It's in fact it's in times like those when other things like this free bus pass, free travel around Scotland, or like the citywide bike rentals, or even the laptop loan scheme, these things come handy
Yep,
because they're really
for sure.
helpful. And most of these, like even like resources by the university, for example, I have been using the laptop provided by the university, so I never had to pay for it. And it's things like these that kind of like support you really well
Yep.
in times of need. And especially the young Scott card, I cannot stress enough on how impactful it has been to my life. Like, God bless young Scott for real. But I think I find Glasgow quite an affordable city,
Yeah.
especially after being in London and places like New York. Guys, Glasgow is way better when it comes to
For sure.
finances or like maintaining financial stability, because I think the rent is high, but just in like the posh or like the West End regions, there's always a way out. For
Yeah, yeah,
every
yeah, yeah.
problem, there's always like the meals are expensive, but there's always Tesco meal deals, or like there's always places like Aldi or Lidl where you can like kind of
Hmm.
make up for it, which you cannot if you're living in a place like London or New York. So I think that's a blessing in disguise for real.
I think it's important to be savvy and understand the areas within sort of Glasgow, and you'll learn that when you start to live here. Do you know what I mean? So the West End
Yeah,
is just notoriously the most expensive, and then there's other wee pockets kind of slightly out with Glasgow that are quite expensive. But
yeah,
if you go to sort of kind of more into the East End, there's some really really nice places to eat for like half the price that you could get the same thing in the West End. So yeah, okay, it's nice to eat in the West End, and there are really special places. But honestly, if you're on a budget, don't be feared to go out with. Just have a wee look. Go maybe to the east, the south side. The south side's cheaper than the West End, but it's starting to get a wee bit more expensive.
yeah.
But the south side of Glasgow has got amazing food. Like there's so many wee places. I know there's a place in Denniston that does some really good food, and it's literally I was shocked at the price because it was like a big ramen bowl for like a fiver, and like near
Oh my
me,
god.
it's like £9, and I'm like, oh, but sometimes you want to treat yourself to a £9 bowl of ramen, but then if you're really
Once in a
struggling
while,
and
it's
you just
fine.
go, yeah, like once in a
Yeah.
while it's fine, but it's knowing about this. It's knowing actually I can get the same thing cheaper and just as good potentially, because there are some really really good places kind of on the outskirts and stuff like that. The city centre as well it can be expensive, but again, it's just finding these wee niche spots
There's
and
always
just
a McDonald's in every corner. Like, come on. How can you sell food cheaper than McDonald's?
yeah. So and you can get your stamps and stuff for places like
The
get your
subscription
loyalty
ones, that's
cards.
such a good shout, yeah.
Yep.
Oh my god, I cannot stress enough about the discount deals at the student fair. Because all the companies, like even like big brands like Domino's and Smashburger and all these brands, they come up with their coupons and discount vouchers and all the clubs in Glasgow. I cannot stress
There's
enough.
so many discounts.
So
in
many
clubs.
discounts. I've literally lived on free food for one full week after the welcome fair. But like it's literally so cool.
Mhm.
Guys, do you have any top tips for new people coming into Glasgow as students?
One of the things that I swear by and I've been using for the last 4 years is like Student Beans, which is an online kind of app as well you can get for your phone in uni days. And that just collects like literally all of the brands and supermarkets and things where they do student discounts, and they'll have vouchers that you can use. And it's just, you can save like 10-15%. Sometimes it can go up to like 20% on things. And then always have your student card on you, even when you're not in uni that day, because you might pop in somewhere and it will be like 10% student discount. And if you've got your card on you, you'll get that discount. And places will surprise you. You might go into a barber's or a hairdresser's and they'll be offering it. So just always make sure you've got that student card on you for a wee surprise discount.
Yeah, you'd definitely be surprised at how many places that have student discounts. Like it's like restaurants and even like shops where you can get like, for example, I went to a paint shop and then they offered 10% discount for students on all of the stationery items and all of that. And I was like,
Nice.
that's good. Saving my money on paints.
Yep.
Don't have to spend that much. Yeah. What I would recommend is for everybody to know what their main grocery shop is. For example, here they have Lidl, Morrison's, Tesco, M&S, Waitrose, Aldi's, etc. And so I would say to download all of the apps for each of those stores, especially the ones that you mostly go to, and then get their cards, like the Tesco Club card or like the Lidl's points card. And then as you're shopping, to always just scan your points card so that later on you can get discounts on your grocery shopping. I am stacked up with cards. I have M&S, I have Waitrose, I have Tesco, I have Lidl. So it makes me go to multiple shops because I'm like, oh, I'm stopping by this shop on my way home.
Might as well.
Let me get this thing. And I'm like, oh, okay, I have points on this. I'll get a discount on this now. So, and also Lidl, for example, they have like different items that they'll promote on their app for discount. So like you can get like a free bakery item at the store at that time. So then you just scan it, and then when you scan your card, you just get the item for free. So I definitely
That's really good.
So I definitely recommend people utilizing points cards from different grocery stores to save money.
I need to thank you because I have a little Morrison's and an Aldi very close to the place where I stay, and I've been meaning to get the cards for like months now, and I never remember to do it, and I'm downloading them right now.
Yeah, good.
Definitely.
Think of the
definitely
money you
do
would have
it.
saved over the last 2.5 years, Victor. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We hope this episode has been useful. If you're interested in finding out more, you'll find the links you need in the show notes, and you can visit glasgow.ac.uk/get to know Glasgow. Thank you for listening, and bye for now.